We are taught as children to treat others the way we expect to be treated, yet so often we fail to treat ourselves with the same respect that we freely give to others. Today we'll be discussing the domino impact of self-love and how your love for yourself translates to the personal relationships that we establish. Today, I welcome Michigan indie pop singer-songwriter Aspen Jacobsen and CEO of YWCA, Rochester, New York, Dr. Myra Henry. My name is Amanda Ashley, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 96, Love Each Other Right. Welcome. And I have the pleasure of welcoming the lovely Aspen Jacobsen. Aspen, welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, such a pleasure. I love your music. What are you going to share with us today?
So the song I'm going to sing is a song that I recently wrote, and it's called Shouldn't Give a Damn. And I wrote it about people or relationships in your life that, well, you just keep on giving and you get nothing in return. And they just keep on taking everything that you have and like all your energy and time, and they're kind of like a black hole. So you have to learn to do what's best for yourself sometimes and kind of make that stop. So,
Amen, sister. I can't wait to hear it.
3 a.m. caffeine, I don't wanna fall asleep, 'cause your mistletoe rise are haunting my dreams. Yes, it helps me, but hurt my guilty mind. Now you're cleaning up my ashes and what's left of your pride. And you don't even know who I am. You just take and take everything that you can, and I shouldn't give a damn. You think you love me, but you fall in love too fast. Not here to please you, I got dignity in class. And cry to your mama, she'll just give you false hope. Ooh, I said love's not just mere words in the smoke. Yeah, you don't even know who I am. You just take and take everything that you can, and I shouldn't give a damn. I don't have to treat your porcelain. I don't have to treat you like a king. I'll give it to you straight and honest, 'cause I need space to breathe. I don't have to hold you like your porcelain. I don't have to treat you like a king. I'll give it to you straight and honest. I need space to breathe. You don't even know who I am. You just take and take everything that you can, and I don't give a damn.
Excellent, Aspen. Such a guitar player you are, and an extremely
Thank
talented
you.
vocalist as well. Aspen, you're very young. How old are you?
I'm 16.
16 years old, and you already
Yes.
have such a bright awareness of life. Where do you get, I mean, where does this come from? Are you an old soul by heart?
I've always been told that. Honestly, I just feel like I'm changing and growing every day and learning new things, especially being here at a music school. I have classes and debates, and I just learned so many new different perspectives, and it kind of just shapes my outlook on life, which I love. And I love being young because I'm always learning and always growing. And I may not
Sure.
know that many stuff, but it's okay.
No, I mean, I think you've caught on to all the right stuff early on, so it's only going to get better from here as you grow and continue to blossom into a beautiful older woman like me. So,
I
Aspen,
wish.
so Aspen, I mean, tell me about your upbringing. You are originally from Michigan, right?
Yes, I'm from a place called Commerce, Michigan. So it's near like Detroit and Lansing and Ann Arbor combined. Um, my whole entire family are definitely not musicians at all. So I don't know where I found music, but I did. Um, I musical theater from a young age, and then I did opera for a few years. But that just wasn't my thing, and I kept on being like, oh well, opera doesn't suit my voice, and I don't think musical theater does. And so I was like, why don't I just start writing my own music and my own songs and create my own kind of art form? And so I did that with like a little ukulele I got for Christmas one year, taught myself how to play, and then I would busk on like the sides of art fairs, and then I got enough money to get myself a guitar, and I just I just kept on doing it. It wasn't like a set in stone. I want to be a musician. This is what I want to do. It was more of a coping mechanism,
Uh-huh.
especially songwriting. It just helped me deal with a lot of feelings that I was having and a lot of situations.
Now you said you're currently in music school. What is your concentration?
So I'm majoring in singer songwriter, and yeah, it's super cool to be filled in the school with tons of different artists from different backgrounds and different cultures and countries. It's really cool, and I feel like it's really shaped my music and helped me grow more as a person.
Sure, absolutely. And then is this your first year in music school?
Yes, so it's my second semester here. I'm a junior. Yeah. It's kind of
Excellent.
scary being away from home because I mean, and living with another roommate, but I make it work. So
Sure. I mean, well, what's one thing? So wait, you said you're a junior, so what's it like experiencing school like this during COVID times? I mean, I'm sure things have been like online. You're doing a lot of online classes and um, how's it been?
it's
Like what?
really, yeah, it's really difficult. Um, just like trying to connect with people. But the school I go to is called Interlochen, and Interlochen does a great job of making sure we're in like restrictions and all of us are staying safe and healthy, but we're still able to have fun. Like right now, most of my classes are in person, and we follow all the guidelines, and um, we're still able to do concerts and performances. So
That's good.
I'm yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure as a performer, I mean, I know this. Beau and I are both performers in our day-to-day lives, and yeah, it's been a trial and year with having performances stripped away, and especially performances. I think is such a huge contributor to your growth as a musician. I feel like every performance that you have, you learn something new about yourself. It's like I always tell people, like as I'm on this personal like journey, just being a woman and trying to navigate through life, I feel like I'm also on this musical journey. Do you feel the
Mhm.
same?
No, I completely agree with you. Um, I I don't think I would be happy just being a songwriter who writes songs and doesn't share them with the world. Um, and just like being able to connect with an audience and see like their reaction to your songs and have this connection is just such a beautiful thing, and I don't think it can be replicated if it's like not in person.
Absolutely. What is one thing that you're most passionate about? I mean, so actually, let's talk about your album, Love Each Other Right. Today's theme is in your honor.
Hmm.
Um, I love that title. What inspired this title?
So it was a lyric in one of my songs called "Don't Go," which is on my album Love Each Other Right. I have it right here. Um, and that song kind of just talked about how, like in relationships, you can get into fights, but in the end, we have to learn to look at each other's perspectives more and really listen to each other. Because I feel like in this world, especially right now, we're really self segregating and kind of closing off our ideas, and we all need to be more open and empathetic and really listen to each other, hash things out, and then move on.
Has this theme taken on new meanings since like COVID and since the past year with all the series of events that have
Yeah,
taken place? Yeah, I'm sure.
definitely. Hmm. Yeah, I was listening. Well, I was playing a few of my songs like a few days ago from this album, which I don't do so much anymore because was released in 2019. But I was listening to some of the lyrics, and while I was writing it, I wasn't thinking of these bigger concepts. I was just like thinking on the surface level, and then I went back and I read them, and I was like, oh wow, like this has so much more meaning to like me personally than it did before. And I think that's really cool, and that's one of the things I like about songwriting is you can go back and be like, wow, I relate to this song but in a completely different way than what it was intended to be.
Absolutely. And as your experiences continue to grow, I'm sure you'll look back at this album at different other points in your life and be able to relate to it differently then as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what makes it a great title, right? And I think about some of the best books that I've read over and over again, like, and what captures me about those stories. And a lot of the times it's those themes that you cross in life again and again, and then when I go
Yeah,
back, like this book, have you ever heard of the book called The Prophet?
I think I have.
It's a great book. My father actually gave it to me right before I went to college. And I read it and I didn't, I mean, I read it and I took it at like face value, but then I revisited it. I have revisited it several times in my life since. And it's
Mm-hmm.
after every time I hit like a pitfall or some kind of setback, that's when I choose to pick up the book again. I picked it up during
Yeah.
COVID again, just to kind of, it really captures a lot of life's themes and it's really beautifully poetically written. You would appreciate it as a songwriter. Please promise me you'll go check it out. It's by
I
Khalil
will. Yeah.
Gibran. It's beautiful. And it's just one of those books that I think I'm going to carry me till like I'm 90 years old if I ever am grateful enough to make it that far. But, it's just one of those things that as you cross like these decades in your life and you become older and wiser and you experience these things and these topics just really start to hit home and closer to you in ways that maybe they didn't when at least I'm about to be 36 when I was your age. Like it didn't really make as much sense to me then. But as I began to
Mm-hmm.
live and then I went off to college, certain themes like hit home. And then as I, experienced adulthood, it hits me in a different way. It hits me in a different way as a mother. Like it's really interesting. But I think the same goes for a great album, you know, like you're saying, people that listen to great music and that there's stories built in this music, like Stevie Nicks Landslide, you know, like that
Yeah.
song when she wrote it, it meant something to her. But then as she became, you know, maybe I don't want to date her. I think she's probably like in her mid 60s now. Um, but I know, like, I've seen interviews where her re-singing those songs and it almost takes on a new meaning to her. So
It's all
that's
about
awesome.
interpretation.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What type of music inspired you growing up?
When I was growing up, I listened to a lot of show tunes. I only had like two CDs, and they're both from Taylor Swift. Um, and so I I didn't really listen to like the oldies but goodies, or like some of my favorite songwriters now, like Joni Mitchell. And I sorry, my laptop's being weird. Okay, but I think I'm not sure if it was like my own sound that I was trying to get at, or if it was just like my subconscious, like mixing together stuff that I heard on like the radio with all like the other stuff I was doing. But I felt like I kind of came up with my own sound, and as like time progressed, I know that I went to a music festival for the first time a few years ago, and everyone there was playing old time music and storytelling and folk singing, and I really fell in love with that art form. And now I'm really into Molly Tuttle and Sierra Hull. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Emmylou Harris?
Yes.
You remind me a little bit of her. Like when I was listening through your music, a little bit of your voice and your guitar playing and just like how you tell your stories. It's, I mean, I hope you take that as a compliment. I love her. I think she's
I
great.
do.
Yeah, she's definitely, I mean, listen to more of her and maybe you'll see the parallels. But that was like, when I was listening through your music, I was like, oh, she reminds me of like a young Emmy Lou. And it's awesome.
Thank you.
How do you feel like your time, so now that you're growing and you're continuing to write and record, how do you feel you've personally and musically evolved in the past, 2 years since your last album release?
So, um, I would say that I'm thinking more about everyone's opinions and perspectives and moral moral values and politics, and I'm including that more into my music, um, and social issues, because I feel like as an artist and a performer and a songwriter, I feel like I have this like moral obligation to say what I believe is right, or just bring awareness to things. And I want to do that through my music. And us as artists have this voice and have this opportunity to share that. And I feel like it would be a waste not to.
Absolutely. And especially as a young artist, I think to have good role models is really important for the youth of today. I mean, what awareness are you most passionate about bringing using your public platform?
There's so many. Right now, I'm working on a song for a performance that's coming up in the beginning of April, and it's called Monday Morning. I'll actually play it. Um, that's going to be my second song that I play, but that's about gun violence and gun control. So I feel really passionately about that. I mean, there's just tons of issues going on right now that I want to bring awareness to and talk about. Yeah.
I know it's like it's hard to like just even grasp it all at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like an overflow of craziness. At least
Yeah.
that's what it feels like to me between, like racial injustices and just everything that's going on politically. And yeah, it's hard to focus on one of them because they're all so important, right?
Yeah.
Like, so,
Yeah. And I just recently wrote a song about religion and I shared it for my class, and everyone was like, "Oh, like wow." So
In a
I
good
don't know
way?
what I was gonna say with that. Um, well, like it got like mixed opinions, but I kind of like songs that have mixed opinions sometimes because controversy.
Right? That's what causes that's what stirs up conversation, right?
Yeah.
So what's up and coming for you this year? What can we look forward to?
Um, 2021 is a year of growing and songwriting more and trying to find out what I want to say and how I'm going to share that with the world. I'm hoping during the summer that I will be able to like record a few songs and release them. And I think that's what I'm going to do, but it's not set in stone yet. This year is mostly just about learning.
Learn and grow, and the music will come along with that. I promise
Mhm.
you. Um, that's exciting. Now, do you record specifically at one place? Like, where? Tell us about recording your last album, "Love Each Other Right." What was your experience like? Was that that's your
Yeah.
first album?
No, that's my second album. My first one was a self-titled album that I did in a home recording studio, which
So
was
it's a big difference to go from a home
yeah,
recording, right, to an actual studio. What did you learn?
yeah. So sorry. Okay, so I recorded at Will's Sound, which is um a great recording studio, and it had this like really cool sound. It's like an old church, and so it had some really cool acoustics, and like the overall feel was great because I didn't want to record in a place that was just like all boxed in, and I felt like I couldn't like draw from like the nature and the beauty of the place, if that makes any sense.
Hmm.
But that was great. I also had a band play with me for the songs, and it added so much to the songs, and it was what I was hearing in my head, but it just it just came out, and I was like, yes, like that's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So that it was really exciting for me. Yeah.
Do you anticipate, I mean, so you've done a lot of solo work. Do you anticipate putting together a band as restrictions loosen up and people become more comfortable?
Um, to be honest, I love performing solo or maybe with one or two musicians with me. Um, yeah, I don't think I would want to be like part of a band full time because I wouldn't be able to I feel like be as like raw and share as much with my audience as I do being a solo independent musician. But I also love collaborating with other musicians, especially here at school. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, take your time too. I think there's benefits to both, and you could do both. Maybe have some bigger shows with more people or featured,
Hmm.
performers with you, and still you have a little bit more flexibility as a solo artist, right? To kind of pick up and go anywhere, play what you want, tell the stories you want.
Yes.
So yeah, there's definitely a beauty to
Hmm.
playing solo as well. But yeah, well, you have your pick of the crop, girl. Take it. You got some talent that you're surrounded by. You might as well. There's a lot to benefit from other creative minds. I really believe that even outside of music, like we learn and can give and take so much from each other. So definitely open yourself up to that if you can. Take it from a wise older woman.
Hmm.
It's been a pleasure having you today. Where can our audience be directed to your music and download your album?
So just you can search me up, Aspen Jacobsen. I'm on Spotify, YouTube, all the other streaming platforms. My website is aspenjacobsen.com, and um, my Instagram and my Facebook is Aspen Sings. So look me
Excellent.
up. I would like to be connected with people and talk with people. That's one of my favorite things to do as a performer. So yeah.
Fantastic, Aspen. I wish you luck and make sure you all do check out her album. It's excellent. And she's really a superb talent. So thank you, Aspen, so much for being on our
Thank
show.
you.
Pleasure. I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Myra Henry. She is CEO of Rochester's YWCA. How are you, Dr. Henry? Thank you for joining us.
I am well. Thank you for inviting me. And if I can just say, I'm honored to share this space with Aspen. I want a do-over at 16.
Right? I think about that. I don't know if I would want to. I mean, think about though, if you did have that do-over, how much your life would change, right?
Yeah. Uh, I would want a do-over if I could take what I know now with
Hmm.
me.
Sure.
That would be the difference.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. Dr. Henry, tell us more about you. Could you give our audience a little background about who you are and your role and position with YWCA? I keep getting my letters all screwed up. So I
Yes,
apologize.
yes, yes. So I am a native of Rochester, New York. For those who are familiar with Rochester, I grew up in the 19th Ward near the airport. My academic and professional background are in organizational development and management with a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. My work creating equitable opportunities and pathways for people to thrive in organizations led me to first serve as faculty for the YWCA's racial equity programming. And now, many years later, I'm honored to serve as their first Black president and CEO.
Fantastic. And now this is a new position for you too, correct?
Yes, yes, I'm about 90 days, a little over 90 days in. I started December 1st of last year. So I'm a newbie here in this space.
Well, they are definitely lucky to have you. How has your transition into your new position been?
It has been heartwarming, eye-opening, and exhilarating all at the same time. And now I'll share a little bit about what that means. I always been familiar with the work of the YWCA for many years. And coming in, I was met with and have the privilege of working with staff who are dedicated to the work that we do and the people we serve. About 80% of the clients that we serve are Black and brown. They look like me, and they're women and their families who are oftentimes, we meet them at their lowest point of homelessness. So being able to provide a little bit of hope, even if it's just a little bit of hope for those women, is heart wrenching and heartwarming all at the same time. However, the exhilarating part is being able to work in an organization with a full-throated mission to eliminate racism and empower women. So that keeps me going and keeps me coming back every day.
I love that. And you said that you had mentioned before we went on air that YWCA, there's 19 of them in New York State,
Yes, yes.
correct?
So YWCA is a national organization, and there's over 200 YWCAs in the United States. And then in New York State, as a zone or a region, there are a total of 19 YWCAs from Niagara Falls to Long Island.
Okay. Yeah, it's so interesting to have this interview with you today. Our last interview on Monday was with Person Centered Housing, Mr. Nick Coulter. He's one of the founders. And, he had talked about providing shelter for, I want to say clientele. There's probably a better word, I suppose. But most of the people, the demographic that he was experiencing dealing with were predominantly white males. And one thing that he had mentioned that really stuck out to me was that women tend to turn to their own methods of survival when it comes to homelessness, that they put themselves in precarious situations where they're dealing with domestic abuse or living in uncomfortable situations for the sake of having a roof over their head. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that and YWCA's role in helping giving women and children, black and brown, and all women, kind of a
Yeah.
place, comfort?
So yeah, research through this pandemic has shown that unfortunately women are staying with their abusers longer, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Where are you going to go? So we, at the YWCA, we have services to help victims of domestic violence, substance abuse, or for whatever reason, right? You fill in the blank for why a woman or a parent can find themselves homeless. And we have case managers that will help people through. Now we have housing, we have shelters for women, and they do. Well, personally, I think as women, we take on a lot for ourselves, and we sometimes hold on to, I'm strong, I can do this, just one more day, or if I try this one more thing, when oftentimes reaching out for help, be it, through Department of Human Services or through our shelters and other avenues, help may come a little bit faster than having to be in a compromising position. But first being able to admit and acknowledge and reach out that you need help. That's why we're here. We are here to help and serve.
Why do you believe it's admitting that you need help is so much more difficult than actually seeking it? Like there are, thank goodness for beautiful organizations like your own, and for person-centered housing, like for us to have that in our city. But yet you still see people, stay in their situations because they believe they're stuck, right? They believe maybe the alternative isn't that much better when it really could be, right? Why do you think people choose to stay where they
Yes,
are?
sometimes it's the devil that you know, right?
Mm.
Instead of trying to, taking the chance and crossing waters and not knowing what's on the other side, that leap of faith, I guess, folks would have to take. And I'll just speak personally as a wife and mother of four. You, as a with those labels and those responsibilities, you do all that you can do. It's like, I'm going to exhaust every possibility. And sometimes that last resort could be or should be asking for help when we think we
Mhm.
can do it on our own.
Sure, absolutely. Now, when help is called, I mean, do you find that most of the people that are coming to YWCA are knocking at the door, or actually making a phone call, or both? Or is
Yeah,
somebody else making the call for them?
yeah, yes, and it's a combination of things. We get folks that come in through our doors through the Department of Human Services. We have a relationship with a local medical center where folks who are released from the emergency room and have nowhere to go, there's a soft handoff from the hospital to our shelters. So yes, and I mean, I have received emails while I'm on vacation or on the weekend for folks, again, in the community that says, hey, I have a homeless student, or I know of a young woman who's leaving her abuser and have nowhere to go. So you call, we'll come. We'll figure out a way to help folks.
I love it. And I mean, you had mentioned housing. I mean, about how many people have you housed over like the course of the past year, or
Yeah.
um, can you
So
talk a
over
little bit
the
about?
last year, well, our statistics annually, we serve over 1,100 women and their families. Now we have a cadre of a continuum of housing, affordable housing services, from emergency shelter and emergency placement to affordable long-term housing, and kind of everything in between. And then we also have young adult services, where we have our Parent as Teachers program, where we work with parents as they work to raise their young children and what that looks like, and giving them the tools to be effective parents. So we serve over 1,100 women and their families over over a year's time.
Now, does your program, like as part of your services, do you offer anything that helps people in these situations redefine their value, or their self worth? Kind of get them on a path. Because I imagine anybody that's been mentally, physically abused, right? That their self-worth is just almost probably non-existent, you know, to some degree. How do you help these people see that there is a light and that there is a better path, and to just keep moving, you know, like how do you keep them moving forward and not reverting back to where they were?
So that's the beauty of the intersection of the YWCA's mission with eliminating racism and empowering women, social justice for all. Our approach to this work is through a trauma-informed care lens. So we approach the work with the spirit of empathy and the spirit of love, in very much the theme of this show today. And that's where we meet folks, and we give them whatever tools or whatever support they need to just not, it may not even be make it to the next day. It might even just be make it to the next hour. We provide dinner, a warm meal every night for our families in our homeless shelter. We have a pantry that they can shop for food for, you know, food to feed themselves. So we provide services if it is make that phone call. We have had women where language might be a barrier. And we have quite a few Spanish speaking clients, and we have quite a few Spanish speaking case managers as well. And we've had clients to say, can you just make this phone call for me? You know, just help me. And we'll do that. So yeah, I really do believe it is meeting folks with that spirit of love and that spirit of empathy to give them, again, that little bit of hope to hang in there one more hour, which will then turn into one more day and one more week and one more month.
Sure. I mean, when we love each other, right? If
Yeah.
we are all sharing that love, you know, and I think with love comes that hope that there's something more for you out there, right? When you're shown love on a level of compassion, you know, that compassion really kind of paves the way. And it's contagious, you know, when we love each other, right? We, I really truly believe, open a pathway to to potential, and you know, like furthering our individual potential. I mean, at least I believe that. I hope others agree. But yeah, I think just, you know, general compassion goes really such a long way.
Absolutely. And
Dr. Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
reciprocal, if you will. It's important that as an organization that we are pouring into our staff and the folks who provide these services, and then they pour it into our clients and the folks who we serve. So
Mhm.
it's like just one big circle. And if it's all done in the spirit of love and the spirit of empathy and the spirit of compassion, it'll come back to us and we'll see a better
Absolutely.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Dr. Henry, what do you believe, what qualities do you believe a good transformational leader and agent for change should possess?
So I've heard of one researcher define leadership as an art and a science. And I agree with that. I believe a transformational leader must have an open mind to take in new information and at the same time be nimble and flexible to pivot. Most importantly, I think transformational leaders need to have a true sense of self and that willingness to engage with others, to make connections, build relationships to work towards a common goal. It has to be intentional.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on allyship. I mean,
Mhm.
you were talking about your background, you know, with equity and inclusion. How do you believe we could become a better ally?
Well, I'm going to say a few things here. First, I'm going to say check out YWCA for our Stand Against Racism event, which is coming up April 14th. And that's one of the themes that our keynote speaker, as well as our guest panelists and speakers, will be talking about, how to become a better ally, but also how to become a strong accomplice.
Hmm.
And one thing that I will share about becoming a better ally or a stronger accomplice is folks from the dominant group must do their work. They must increase their understanding and self-awareness as it relates to race in the United States, because they left a whole lot out of the history books. There's a whole lot we don't know. So we need to do that work to understand why we are the way we are and why we do what we do. Um, and then the folks from the dominant group need to speak up and stand up to make a difference.
Absolutely. What do you say to people that fear being judged? Like that try to be, that allies and that want to show support, but feel like they're not being taken serious, or what they're doing. They're being told what they're doing isn't enough.
Right? So that's when you stand in your own truth, and look at your sphere of influence and how can you impact where you are in your neighborhood, your grocery store, your work cubicle. How can you impact and make a change and speak to difference in your sphere of influence? And if we all do that, we can change the world. But it does start with our own work. It starts from increasing our self-awareness.
Absolutely. And can you tell us? You said April 14th. You're having your event. Is this virtual?
It is. It's a virtual experience, and it is the theme for this year is sparking change. And what we're looking to do is to ignite that very, that very energy into folks to make change in their individual, their personal and professional lives. And we have an awesome keynote speaker lined up, as well as with a local panel of oh goodness, civic minded, business minded, and community minded experts that are going to, as I like to say through this planning process, share receipts in terms of how to do this work. So participants will walk away with practical tools, actionable items to be able to engage with what it means to live, to have an equitable lens and live in and work towards a just society.
Lovely. I love it.
And it's free. It is free to participate.
Incredible. And so they could participate through the website?
Yep, they can register at ywcarochester.org, and all the registration information is there. We are also on Facebook and LinkedIn at YWCA Rochester and Monroe County, and the event again is Stand Against Racism.
Perfect. And one last question. I mean, obviously, you're trying to bring light to the mission, but personally, what awareness really are you most passionate about bringing forward?
So that is actually the mission of the organization, is what drew me to this job. I live, see, work, breathe through an equitable lens. I actually often share with my parents that it shouldn't be a surprise that I work and serve as a diversity practitioner, given that my first experience with racism was at 8 years old. And I remember it like it was today. And Aspen shared her age, you shared your age. And I'm proud to say I'll be 50 years old this year. So to
Girl, you look good.
well, thank
Man, you look great. Yeah.
Thank you. So to be able to recall that memory from so long ago of what a racist experience felt like at such a young age has really kind of shaped my view and work in this space to make a better world and for everyone. And so that's what I'm passionate about. And we do that at the YWCA through all the work. All of our work is through an equitable lens.
I love it. I'm very grateful to have organizations like your own in our city. Please, if you know somebody that could use the help, please direct them Myra's way. And thank you so much for your time, Dr. Henry. Could you tell us your website one more time so
Yeah.
our audience could check you out?
Indeed, it's ywcarochester.org. And again, all phone calls, questions, you can reach me directly. My contact information is on there. I definitely will respond.
And are you accepting volunteers as well? Are you always looking for volunteers?
Absolutely. So on the website, there are ways, you can find ways to help, ways to donate, ways to volunteer, and also to register for the Stand Against Racism event. Yes.
Incredible. Thank you again. Such a pleasure to have you and to speak with you. And hey, Aspen, could you close us out with something beautiful of yours?
Okay. It's not gonna end on a positive note, but oops. Okay. she'll do anything to take the numbness away, and that's her life. And the soul of a stranger, her life, and her heart beats fainter these Monday mornings left in mourning. In a careful facade, hiding internal strife, just a trigger away from showing the pain that he's felt all his life. And he's firing off his anger and rage with the bullets that fly past our faces, past our conscience and our constitution. And that's his life in the mind of a stranger, his life taking away more lives these Monday mornings left in mourning. These Monday mornings left in mourning.
Beautiful, Aspen. Please make sure you all take a moment to go check out Aspen's album. Both Aspen, Jacobsen, and YWCA have Facebook pages, so take a moment to like them and to learn more about them because they are very worth knowing. Thank you to the two of you. I'm going to leave you off with my final thought, so to say. As always, the work begins with you. Think of how different the world would look and feel if we all loved and cared for ourselves the way we are supposed to. How is it that one can overlook or diminish fulfillment for the sake of bearing emotional or physical harm? It's a question that's easy to ask, but if you're not in that situation, you don't know. This past week's guests, Nick Coulter, as I had mentioned, from Person-Centered Housing, and also Dr. Henry, can attest to the devastating, painful truth of how many women diminish their self-worth and subject themselves to dangerous situations for the sake of survival. Self-worth and acceptance is a journey and a half. However, it requires the same amount of energy to remain stuck in a negative situation as it does to work yourself towards something that reaps quadruple the benefit. I remember what it was like to feel irreparably damaged, lonely, stuck, helpless, worthless, and convinced that I couldn't take care of myself. I remember how irresponsibly I acted for years as a result in response to those feelings. I hated myself for the person I was becoming as a result of my actions and felt angry at myself, at the world, and at my partner at the time. I remember the day I hit my lowest point and looked myself in the eye of my mirrored reflection, face all contorted, my body weak, and just water pouring from my eye sockets. I remember the day I decided it was time for change, and that moment that change actually went into effect. For years, I carried on unhappily, thinking I had it mostly good, and that was good enough. And I'd put on a happy face, and I overworked myself to disguise the fact that I didn't want to go home and be faced with the reality of my internal struggles. I had myself chained to self-doubt, guilt, and fear for years because I was young, I was impressionable, and because the career path I wanted to pursue was labeled as being unstable. Jumping ship was both terrifying, but it was the most rewarding thing I've ever done for myself. No, I haven't been homeless, and there are far worse situations, but the point is, the change in my demeanor and outlook after was practically immediate. I felt strong, I felt ready, I felt free to explore the life I for years was shrouded in guilt for pursuing. I traveled, I wrote my butt off, I performed music, I picked up healthier habits, I explored nature, And into my life, I began to attract beautiful, inspiring souls that encouraged, supported, and that accepted me for who I truly was. And I was glowing, and those around me took notice. For so many years that I had hid how I truly felt, people are able to see that no matter how good of an actor you are, who I wanted to be is what I finally took ownership of. And in doing that, I took ownership of my future. And here we are today. Often we allow ourselves to bask in situations that don't positively serve us because the uncertainty of the unknown is far more intimidating than the toxic situations we've come to accept. We love each other more when we are capable of loving and accepting ourselves. Your happiness is worth fighting for because you are gifted only one chance at life and given the option to explore the limitless nature of your potential. The relationships we build around us suffer when we are consumed by whatever negative present plagues our existence. We can't fully be present when something is constantly pulling you away and from who you want to be, how you want to feel, and the things you want to do. Darkness serves as a reminder that we are stronger and more resilient than we believe. Conclude what you've learned from your previous situation and use it as motivation to explore what better options lie ahead. Because we're not intended to walk blindfolded into unsafe territory, but to find light, meaning, and purpose through each of those dark situations that we are presented with. It's crucial to stay connected with yourself so that you can evaluate and work to improve your mental and emotional well-being. This is often easier said than done, but by focusing on two different concepts, self-care and self-love, you can stay in tune with yourself so that you can be more present for yourself and those relationships in your life that you value. Don't ever settle for less than what you deserve. We are all capable and deserving of living fulfilled lives. So decide for you. Help and guidance is always a phone call or just a knock on a door. And the key to unlocking your future truly remains in your possession. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program. I hope you take some inspiration to walk away and carry on your Wednesday with. Please, if you guys are local to Rochester and you are a fan of our show, please join us live on stage tomorrow night from 8 to 10 at 75 Stutson Street. I'll be conquering many of these themes, and we will be carrying you through a journey of original music as we do that. And that's at 75 Stutson Street, 8 to 10 tomorrow evening. Thank you to Beau Productions. Shout out to James Farley of Northwestern Mutual and Maiden Voyage Studios. And huge thank you to our show sponsors, Rochester Woman Online, Chris Sirriani at itinsights.com, and also Bridgett Hoag at Empire Realty. You all have a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in.